Thank you.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome participants to the virtual planning board meeting of August 23rd. I'd like to have a call to order. Ms. Creighton.
Here.
Ms. Delicio.
She's blocked. I mean, she's there. She is.
Here.
Okay, Ms. Foley.
Here.
Mr. Gilbert, and I don't think he'll be joining us. And Mr. Olney, I don't see him on. And Ms. Tenney won't be joining us. And I'm here. So we have 4 out of 7. That's a quorum. And I'd like to remind all board members, guests, to ask to be recognized by the chair if you wish to speak. And I'd like to let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded. So first topic is the acknowledgement of receipt of correspondence. The board received a joint letter from Bruce Tarr and Brad Hill. The board received a letter from Michael Massimi with an attached memo from Dave Thompson regarding a development in Hamilton. Just as an aside on that, when I did get that letter, I did log into their meeting. I listened for about an hour of it. I did make contact with their town planner, Patrick Reffert, and I was introduced to their chair in Hamilton, Rick Mitchell. I did talk to Patrick regarding if they're going to do a peer review, that you certainly wanted to be considered, if any impact to Manchester's water supply. They acknowledged that. So I just want to let the board know that took place. Also, the board received a notice of the public hearing for the Chabaco Village postmark August 5th. Right, next topic would be any public comments for items not on the agenda with a limited time. Does anyone from the public wish to speak to the board? Okay, next item on the agenda is 10 Forest Lane, a driveway curb cut. I believe Mr. Collins will have a brief description to the board on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you taking time on the agenda for us again this month. After kind of approving our A&R last month, we sent notification out to 9 of the neighbors up halfway up our street and also on Mill Street related to adding a new driveway, which will support the lot that goes down to our house and garage. The description of the driveway, I don't know if you have the site plan in front of you, but the driveway runs somewhat parallel to the existing driveway that'll support lot number 2. The curb cut for the new driveway will be 20 feet to the south of the existing driveway. That new driveway will run from the street and grade down to our garage level. The length will be 180 feet. The drop off will be 9.5 to 10 feet, which is a 0.66 inches per foot grade. The land naturally grades from the northeast down to the southwest, and EKB Equipment, the company that does a lot of work for the town of Manchester, is building the driveway for us. They will grade the driveway horizontally to a northeast, to the northeast. So the natural grade will run almost directly west down the length of the driveway, but we will grade it to the northeast to mitigate runoff. In addition, we will put in a grass swale along the southwest to also help with any runoff from major rainstorms like, what we could have expected this weekend. There's also, I should add, and it was not part of the application, along the property line, there exists a large row of boulders along the line that also will naturally help with any kind of erosion, in addition to the swale and the grade. In terms of sight lines, there really are no obstructions to the sight line to that new proposed driveway or even the existing driveway. There is a utility pole up the street, but it is set back, and it does not provide any limitation to sight lines. The fire hydrant is about 200 feet up to the north of the road. On the south side, there are no obstructions to sight lines. It's a straight shot down to the southwest of the street. There are no storm runoff sewers or anything like that on Forest Lane. The crest of the hill is also about 130 feet up to the northwest. So there are no obstructions to sight lines there. And I think I've addressed the fire hydrant and storm sewer issues, but I'd be open any questions that you may have.
So Tim, the driveway is going to be a gravel driveway?
Yes.
Although when it does leave the property line, it looks like it's, to get to the edge of paving, it looks like it's a little darker on the plan. Is that part going to be paved?
No, we weren't going to pave it. We were going to put in cobblestones.
I see.
It's kind of, you can see a lot of the houses along 4th Street have kind of 7 or so rows of cobblestones that just kind of give it a nice look and a nice transition from the street to gravel.
Okay. Are there any easements in that location of the driveway?
There are no easements in the area of the new driveway that we're proposing. The existing driveway has easements, but that we had specified last month in the A&R, but none in the area where the new driveway is going.
Okay. Any, we usually schedule a site visit, but any other questions from the board?
The only question I had is just out of curiosity, why you didn't try to have the two driveways come together as one in one. And I meant to go out there today and I got distracted, so.
I think for 2 reasons. One is that if we were to move the new driveway up closer to where the existing driveway is, to then separate it would add a kind of a sharp grade there. The road of Forest Lane kind of grades naturally down to the south. Naturally, we thought it wasn't necessary, and it would add too much of a grade there. It'd be kind of a steep grade at the first 20 feet. The second reason was we thought that separating the driveways would just be nicer. It'd just be a nicer appeal. I don't know that there are any other combined shared driveways on our street, and I didn't particularly like the look of it.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions from the board?
So I guess this is Christine. I have a question.
Go ahead, Christina.
So on the plans that I'm looking at, is the new residence proposed? Is there a picture for that? I see a garage.
The garage and the house are existing.
Okay, the proposed house, where's that? Where will that sit?
That will sit right within the setbacks where you can see where the existing driveway ends, the gray kind of area kind of ends. That the back part of where the setback area is where the proposed house would go. Which is kind of why we ended the existing driveway at that spot.
So is it the driveway's dead ending into the house? Is that correct?
No, the driveway would dead end into the garage would be on the south side of that house. So that driveway would come up to the south side, and the house would be to the northeast of the end of that driveway.
So I
Which
guess
is-
in the past, when we've done these, the house is almost there. We can see where this driveway is going. We can see where the garage is going. I guess I feel like we need a little bit more information versus
Well-
just a cut. I guess that's what I'm confused about right
Yeah,
now.
so this application is for the curb cut for the new driveway, which is, looking at your map, the one on the left. The other driveway on the right already exists. We're not
Ron,
proposing any changes to that.
Excuse me, Ron, if I have it up, if you want to, we could share the screen. That's helpful.
Hold on.
So I'm just gonna keep asking for clarification. So the proposed driveway is going to the existing house, is that correct? I'm sorry, maybe we should just schedule the visit and it'll all become more clear.
So yeah, Tim, what we normally do is schedule a site visit where maybe you can paint out the proposed driveway and the board can ask questions and take a look, and then come back at our next meeting and we'll have, you know, a chat about the questions and
Can I just ask about the timing of that?
I would ask the board when would be a good day to meet at there. We're a little bit out of a loss today. We're missing 2 members, but we usually do it on a Saturday morning, although it's the summertime, so I don't know if that's applicable, but you know, the way the sun is, we could do it in the evening or during the week also. So I would, but it would be done then, you know, during this week or early next.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Does that make sense?
Weekday or weekend is fine for me.
I think then it's usually staked out, so if some members, you know, can't make it on the assigned time, that they can drive by and basically see where it was and then follow up with questions. But most people try to make the site visit.
Okay, but I'll have it staked out
Perfect.
anyway, yeah.
Would the board like to propose a date? Would, you know,
Ron, this is Mary. I mean, I could throw out Thursday or Friday morning or an evening next week or this week. I just can't do Saturday this weekend.
okay. Does Friday morning work with the board?
What time?
8?
8's good.
8's good for me.
Tim will,
Yep.
if you could stake things out, and then also be around Friday at 8 a.m.
Perfect, yep.
Okay. Helene, can you send an email reminder to the board?
I shall.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
There's no other questions. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, an update on the limited commercial district overlay district study. Sue, do you want to give the board an update and go over the chart you gave us today?
Sure, sure. So in discussing with our MAPC consultant, as you know, the next steps are to draft regulations, zoning regulations, design guidelines for an overlay district. That's what he has scope left to do. Earlier, way back in April, we had gone over the uses. We talked about them again when we did the scenarios. So there are a number of things that the board should decide on to allow him to move forward with writing those regulations. And just remember that he's writing the regulations. He'll give them to us in a draft once we make a couple of key decisions. And then we can go back and forth to make changes in uses or in other elements. But he needs to kind of have a framework for moving forward for those. And again, we'll have those. And if you choose not to use them at this time or in the future, they'll be there, but it's not a requirement that we use them, but we should, I think, move forward and get those drafted for that overlay district. So just in order to, I outlined in my planner's report the items that we kind of need to decide on for our consultant to move forward with drafting those regulations. Primarily the uses, which we've generally agreed on before, but they're always open for editing or either now or sometime in the future. The other thing that we should discuss is how if we want a mixed use, how do we want that mix of uses to be kind of guaranteed? So I kind of gave some examples of how we could do that, either by percent of development, percent of developable land, number of units, a combination of both. And then he also wanted some guidance on affordability, wanted to know whether we wanted to have a certain amount of affordability for any residential that's there. One of our goals is to not only create a more diversity in our housing, but also to create more affordable housing. And then the other one is just to kind of make a decision on the district boundary. So those are the things I was hoping that we could have a discussion about tonight. And if we can come to some agreement on those, we can just move forward with drafting the regulations, and then we can begin that iterative process of tweaking them until they're acceptable.
Can I just Scott, Ron, question for?
Go ahead, Sarah.
So the scope
Yes.
of the MAPC's remaining scope in their contract or grant or whatever it is
Yes.
for how many dollars and over what time period? Just so to kind of give us the urgency or not urgency.
Yeah, so I think that what is remaining, I think it's around 17,000 remaining, but I would have to double check on that and get back to you. So the urgency, it was supposed to be completed by the end of the fiscal year. But we, because of the difficulties with getting the project through and the change of scope, we did get permission from MAPC to go a little longer. So he was sending that to Greg. I wasn't the signator on that. So I didn't see that the end date that he got, but my guess is that it might be the end of the year. But I can double check on that as well. So I think there is some urgency to move forward. I would hate to see it the point is we can get it started and change it if we need to, but at least we would have some work being done.
So I think the board got this today, correct? So this.
Well, this was just the last time we had a discussion, folks said it would be helpful if they had something written. I had put these same elements, but just not an expanded scope list in my planner's update. So that's been in there since Thursday, I think. So
Ron, this is Mary. Oh, sorry, Sue.
Go ahead, Ms.
That's
Foley.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I just got this about an hour and a half ago. So I would like some time to be able to look at this and kind of chart out and kind of do some things in frameworks. And I think it would be helpful to have the other planning board members here. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Sue, I agree. We have a limited board tonight. And I know there's some opinions on both sides on these uses. So I would tend, since we got the document today, I would tend to have this on the agenda for our next meeting.
Sure. Could I just ask for a little bit of discussion on some of the things? We agreed on the uses back in April.
Can
We
you put them
agreed on
on,
them.
can you put them on screen, Sue?
I have-
Oh,
You want me to share? I can.
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks, Sarah.
Um,
We agreed on them again when we did the scenario. So these uses have not changed much. I think what we haven't really discussed is, I think the last time we discussed this, we said that there are ways to make sure that it doesn't come in as, for example, all of residential. So I've laid out a couple ideas about how you could make sure that that you could control it so it wouldn't be all residential, or that it wouldn't be all commercial if a mixed use is really what's wanted. So I would love to just have at least a beginning discussion of that if people feel comfortable. And then I think also I would love just some initial ideas on the idea of affordability. So it doesn't have to be a long discussion, but I'd just love a little bit of feedback on that. If that works for folks, if they feel comfortable.
Ron, this is Mary again.
Yes, Ms. Foley.
I don't know that we ever got to the point that we said we were going to be, all commercial mixed use or all housing. I don't think we've ever gotten to that point of discussion of which of the three are we going to target.
My recollection from the last meeting was that that the mixed use was the desirable option. So I don't think
recall that,
I think there was,
Ron.
I think there was clearly agreement that we did not want an all residential neighborhood. Can we throw that out?
I just still don't think we ever had that final discussion.
I thought we talked more about the uses.
And I guess I would also like to point out that though we did discuss these potential commercial uses, it wasn't kind of that we would say all of these could be by right. I mean, we're not going to list out 20 uses and say all of those could be by right.
So my recommendation is that if you're really interested in encouraging development, you decide on what you want developed to be developed, and then you allow it by right if it meets the zoning criteria that you put forward. There may be some things that you want by special permit only, or by special permit in certain instances where it, certainly when it can't comply to zoning, or when it's of a size that exceeds what you want. But it would be, I think, a best practice, and my recommendation is to allow most uses by right, or else you're taking away the very important element of the zoning that encourages development, and that is that there's some certainty for the developer. And when you take that away, that's what really limits developers from coming in and developing there. So that would be my recommendation, but I understand there should be a discussion of when it's by right and when it's not. So
I don't think it's a good time to get it. I mean, again, we have 3 members missing tonight, and to give a sense of this direction, I think I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road. I understand the urgency, but I just don't think we have we got this thing today, and I know it's probably a regurgitation of what we discussed. I thought I remember doing these uses, and I think these are the kind of ones we kind of liked. But, you know, as you get down into the other items, I don't know if we fully vetted those. So my feeling, and I mean, I'll listen to the board members, is that we kick this to the next meeting and maybe have everyone kind of opine on this over the next 2 weeks, and then give you a clear direction. or
Ron, this is
direction.
Christine. I have something, yeah, too.
Christina, go ahead.
So, one housekeeping thing first. So when I'm preparing for a meeting, I look at the agenda, and when I read update, I really don't feel like I'm going to be asked to make a decision. But I just thought this was something new from MAPC personally, Sue, that you were just gonna tell us. For me, I would like a little more information on the agenda for me and the public. If we're gonna make a decision, I think that needs to be clearly marked. And personally, the affordability just jumping out like that presumes that we're okay with the housing portion, which I've pretty been clear, vocal. I'm okay with assisted living, but adding more housing, I'm not okay with. That's what I'm hearing from the people that I'm talking to. Assisted living, I am okay with, but besides that, this is why people had a concern with the initial project. And that's why we kind of stepped aside and took a look at it in a different way. So there's my, opinion at a blush, but I think most people, including myself, would like to take a look at what's going on with the 40B, what's going on with the DPW site. I know that we can put this on a shelf, but if we don't put this on a shelf, it's a lot of housing to digest in a few years, is my opinion.
Ron, can I also just say something?
Yes.
And I apologize, Sue, that I'm not as up to speed on as the others here on this. Although I have been watching while this list was developed. I think I was listening in on that meeting. I'm concerned about two things. One is the outcome and how do we actually, it's very nice to have draft regulations that we can change from MAPC, but I think our goal should be to figure out what we want and to write regulations. And that is it is going to be a challenging process in Zoom and with the other things we've got going on. And I feel like it's kind of waste of time to say, let's use up their scope to get draft regs that then we can go and change. We ought to have the outcome be draft regs that we're going to move forward with. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we've kind of started down a path of moving forward to try to get the zoning code renumbered, reorganized, and minor, some specific changes done. We've been working hard on that. We don't have anything to report tonight. Except for one thing I'll get to when that comes up on the agenda. But I can't imagine how we're going to actually have the space in 4 meetings between town meeting to actually give this the thought and the input from the public that is going to lead us to a good outcome. Unless we totally change course and just focus on this. This is a big deal. And you've got 2 new board members who, should try to come up to speed as fast as possible. But that said, I do think that Laura and I'll speak for myself. I have a different opinion on this LCD than Gary Russell did, for sure. And so I'm not sure exactly what his opinion was and exactly what mine is, but we have a bit different philosophy about the LCD. And then the third point that I think is very important for drafting regulation zoning for a whole district is, what about the sewer and the water? Running the sewer out to that area of town, forget the SLV project for a minute, is again a giant decision. You have people all over town who are waiting for sewer. You've got a sewer report that was done about 5 years ago that talked about extending the sewer out to Harbor Street and to Raymond Street and other places. And maybe that's so I think that the septic issue out in the LCD is very important, and a decision to extend the sewer, if that's what is being contemplated, is a decision that involves the selectmen and others, not just the planning board, I think, regardless of what uses are out in that area. So I would suggest that for those reasons that we actually table this and get the things done that we wanted to get done by November, and work hard to get those passed at town meeting with 10 articles, or totally change course and do the LCD. I don't see how we can do both. I just don't feel like I have the capacity to, and with other business, driveways and docks and other subdivision and divisions of land, A&Rs. But there are a bunch of issues there. So timing, new members and agreement, and the fact that asking MAPC to do something that's a draft that then we can change just sort of means like we hash it over again. The goal should be to write something that we want.
That has always been the goal. It's difficult to get agreement, which we've been trying to work on to get consensus. So what I'm hearing is planning should stop, with the exception of zoning, small changes to the zoning. And so what I'm hearing is applications for grants should stop, because we have a history of not moving forward with them. So it's disappointing, but I accept your.
Well, that's let me just interject. That's one person on the board saying to stop, but
I'm not saying stop planning. I'm saying for the next 2 months, we had agreed we were going to do the minor zoning changes, and I don't know how we have the capacity to do other. And I think you're right. It should be planning, and to draft regulations with the intent that we can change them. I don't know. So
I think I misunderstood twice. I didn't mean to say you think we should stop planning. I know that's not true. I just meant stop planning now for the immediate future until we get through town meeting or so. The other thing is, when I said it was a draft that could be changed, I meant we could get the framework out there and then change it before we finalize it. But I totally agree that we need to agree on the outcome that we want. And it's silly to not agree on that outcome. I've been trying to get us to agree on that outcome for some time. Clearly folks aren't ready to talk about it, or at least to make any decisions now. So.
Well, let's do this. Let's put it on the agenda next meeting with the full board, and just get a consensus on that. That would be, I think, the fairest way to do that, on tabling this, or continuing to planning, maybe with a light lift on what you think we need, and let the whole board weigh in on it. That would be my suggestion.
So what are you asking for? Sorry.
It'd be helpful to know how much scope we have and what the time frame is, and perhaps so we know what the outcomes could be.
So without putting a number,
I think we could get consensus on the uses, but I think when you get down into the affordability and whether we want housing in there, I mean, that is a little bit more complicated, I think.
Ron, this is Mary.
Mary, go ahead.
I agree with what Sarah just said. I think she said it very concisely and thought out very well, that, I mean, we really need to focus on, a bit, we've been doing recodification for a long time, and I think that is going to be a main focus. And I think it's starting to spread the members thin with a lot of things going on, and a lot of crossovers, and a lot of moving pieces with each topic. So for what it's worth, I agree with what Sarah said.
Okay,
I also concur, Ron. And I believe that we went through this list, and my recollection I was pretty clear that we crossed off indoor boat storage. So I'm not sure if this list is actually accurate. I think we fine tuned this list, and I'm not sure if it's the final list.
okay, would the board be averse to having this on next week, just to have everyone else weigh in on pushing this out beyond recodification?
I think that would be good. I also, Sue, I hear you, and I think Gary will agree with you. And so I would suggest that we get a more specific proposal of the work that would be done, and that we could then vote on that specific proposal. You know, what the outcome is going to be, what the specific steps are going to be, what the time frame is going to be, and certainly if the board votes to accept that proposal, I'll be all in. So in terms of the scope of the work, but right now I don't have a sense of what outcome we're gonna get from this work, and then the specific uses are, I think, a piece of the outcome. Deciding on the specific use seems to me to be one facilitated discussion, perhaps, and affordability is part of that discussion. So that's to me would be an outcome of the work rather than that I think a specific proposal of what's going to happen would be helpful to me.
Ron?
I agree. Go ahead.
So there was a scope that was agreed upon already. I'm trying to find in my files the amount. I'm not sure why that's critical, but the scope was already agreed upon. And I'm happy to send that out. So I wouldn't, I don't know why we would ask them for a new proposal for that scope.
But I think for the purposes of whether we're moving forward with this MAPC work, it'd be helpful to have that called out so we can know exactly what it is, what the outcomes are. It would be helpful to me.
I'm happy to.
And so
upload
do we
that
lose
again.
this funding?
Yes.
Do we lose
yes.
this if we don't?
Yes.
If we don't
Yes.
act? So what is our drop dead date to use this money up?
As I said, I'm not privy to the contract extension that they sent to Greg. My guess might be by the end of the year. So.
The calendar year.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's refresh the scope to everyone's mind. We'll have more time to look at this. We'll see what the board wants to do at our next meeting. Does that make sense? I assume that's agreement by silence.
I was muted, Ron, but yes, can we make a decision on, make the agenda clear, please? Discussion to go forward, next steps and versus update. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, thanks. Let's move on. The draft open space and rec plan letter of support, Sue. I think that's been in our packet now for 2 meetings.
Yes, so I updated based on the input that I got and redrafted it. So
Yeah, looked good to me. Any issues with any of the board members?
I had a couple comments, Ron. This is Mary.
Go ahead, Mary.
I would like to ask, I think in your town planner update, you said that this was even being pushed off for them needing the letter for a while. And I was wondering if we could, though I know we're busy, have somebody, so I don't know when it's pushed off to, but have somebody come to us and actually talk about the open space plan, what's changed, what's different, what the scope is. So if that's a possibility, that would be good. And I see that you added some of the, things particular to the planning board. I would just replace the last one, helping to create a more walkable and bikeable community. That wouldn't really fall under us, and replace it with preserve character and natural resources, which is, so that those 3 items kind of sum up what the planning board should be focused on.
Isn't there a liaison to the Open Space and Recreation Committee?
Yes, there is.
I started out on it, but then I got off, so I don't,
I have a list right here. It's Christine.
There's a few of us actually, and it's not the committee, it was just this plan. And the person that was leading the plan was actually in and out for a while. Last time I reached out, he was still out. So I think he may have had a lot of COVID issues, but the meetings haven't been very informative, to say the least.
so I guess a couple questions I have is, when do we actually have to submit this? I know the Board of Selectmen has to submit it as well. I'm just wondering if we can get briefed on that report before we submit it, and then perhaps change that last criteria.
I don't know when he'll be available to, I would guess that he might wait for DSC comments before he would be available to present again in case they want to make changes. I don't know if his scope still has additional meetings. I can check with him and see if he's available. It hasn't, another possibility is to have the open space steering committee present, but I don't think there really aren't substantial changes to the goals and recommended actions at all. They're simply an update.
I think we should send the letter. I mean,
It's online.
the plan was circulated a couple meetings ago, and I skimmed through it. I think we should send the letter as written or with, minor changes, and
I think the letter's fine.
Yeah.
I just maybe think just, if there's no rush, why not just sit on it until we hear back from the comments? I mean, it's done. I don't think they need the letter ahead of time.
They don't need it until it's submitted to the state. So it will be a month, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, I have no problem. I don't have any problem submitting the letter. Maybe you make those changes Mary pointed out today, and then I would release it or as a draft or send it out.
I think we should just get it off our plate. And certainly if there's a summary that we can get, or somebody's done a summary with some slides, or, we could take a few minutes in our meeting to be briefed on it, that would be great.
Yeah, this is Mary. That sounds good. Again, I would just request that we change from the walkable and bikeable, because that's another committee, and do the preserve the character and natural resources.
Fine with me.
Thank you.
Okay. As amended, Sue. Send it out. Next item is the Recodification Roadmap Committee discussion of the approach for town meeting. I know we've been off for now a month. I don't think much has happened. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you can give us an update. I know Chris isn't here.
Yeah. So Chris and Sue actually started to make the changes based, to sort of see what the outcome would be. And we're working through that. Chris and I are going to meet again very soon to sort of proceed on that. So that's about the only update. Ron, you and I need to meet with Alan Wilson before the next meeting to get the.
Right, I got to arrange that.
Yep, anyway, so what I wanted to add, so our next meeting is the 13th, and we will try to have some documents for you to review, the Thursday or Friday before that. But they're going to be I'm just sort of kind of putting it out there that they'll be they will take some time for us to be productive and to really get this done in November. We'll give you some specific things to reflect on before that September 13th meeting. So we'll have some specific things. So if you can kind of mark your calendars that there will be on that Thursday or Friday, we'll try to get as much time as possible, but that there will be some homework that just sort of be, so if we all are aware of that, then we can do it and we can move this along, because there are, what, 4 meetings as currently on the calendar, 5 meetings before that town meeting. So that's
And
the-
one of them has to be a public hearing.
right. So we need to figure out which date, probably with Sue and the ZBA. At least one of them has to be a public hearing. Yeah,
Right.
depending on, we probably need to decide the next meeting whether we're gonna need 1 night of public hearing or 2. Hopefully 1.
Correct,
So
correct.
And can I tell you that September 13th is also a public forum in the town on dispatch?
It is, what time is that, Mary? Do you know?
Don't quote me, but I think it's 6:30.
Oh. Okay. Is any member planning on attending that? Is that an issue for our meeting? We're gonna have a lot to do on the 13th. I think we'll have a full agenda.
I mean, I was hoping to attend the dispatch forum, but I guess I'll have to see.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Anything else?
no,
Okay, Sue, could you put up Sarah, put up the planner's report, or Sue, do you want to go over, or are there any questions on the planner report?
I'm happy to take any questions.
So I had just noticed, this is Christine, that there was, the parking study was not funded. So, just over my conversations in the past year with Greg, he basically said, you know, if we're concerned about this, then we just need to start discussions, budget discussions for ourselves. And so at this point, I guess I would like to request for the next agenda that we do start a budget discussion for ourselves, and this be at least one of the items that we ask the town to fund for the planning board. I mean, this has been 4 years at least trying to get some money for this. So I think we need to come up with some conversation and some reasoning, and not the back and forth last minute. Does the planning board need another, some more money? So I think we've talked about this for a long time, and we need to request the funds from the town.
So just to be clear, it was requested this year and it was denied from the town. So it was on the budget this year and it was taken out.
I think repeatedly,
Just for
yes,
your
agreed,
history.
Sue, I did see that. But I think when it comes down to back and forth conversations about what's going on, I think the planning department repeatedly says that they're asking for grant money. So why pay for it if we can get it for grant money? But we've heard that grant money could be coming for many years at this point. So I think the planning board needs to be very clear and adamant that they are requesting X amount of money. We need to come up with a proposal and be clear on a warrant article for ourselves, that we've requested this, we've not gotten grant money, and we need this funded ASAP. So that's my opinion.
Any other comments on any questions on the planner's report? If not, I'll,
I would also agree that we definitely need a parking study. I think we've been talking about this ever since I got on the board. So that is crucial. And I have a question about the housing opportunity, the MAHT sites. I know we said, I think they were going to come and talk to us in June. So I'm hoping that the Housing Authority is going to be coming to speak with us before the town meeting. Is that still going to happen?
Yes, they want to do that. So
So is that,
we just need to, we've been waiting for you to get to the board and then a request to put it on for your meeting. So you can tell us, you can tell them what date that you could do it. You could hear from them and they'd be happy to show up. So
so Ron, can we
leave
pick a
that
date
to
for
you,
that?
Ron.
Well, next meeting is just going to be too jammed. So I would say the 27th or the 11th of October would be the two meetings I would target. I'll,
11th? Wait a minute. Oh, 11th of October. Okay.
And I think the 11th of October is Columbus Day. Does that matter?
Yes.
so
No,
when
yes.
I'm-
You can't have can't have a meeting on a state holiday.
So that 11th meeting would be moved to the 12th? Is that what usually happens when we need to keep meeting?
No, no, the selectmen do that. The planning board moves it to the following Monday, so then it becomes 2 Mondays in a row.
Can we just go to Tuesday? I mean, is there a reason why we can't?
Let me tell you right now, you all can make any decision you wish about meeting days.
Yeah,
Nothing
I would
to do with
prefer to
me
go to,
anymore.
I agree with Christina. I would prefer to go to the Tuesday instead
The
of having
problem
two
is
of them.
there's too much, overlap between the Board of Selectmen. We need to stay on our own weeks, in my opinion.
I agree.
They go to the Tuesday. Yeah. Why
So
don't-
let's target them for the 12th of October. Would that be acceptable to everyone? And we can, that would be a Tuesday, and I guess I should wait till the whole board is here to make these decisions.
That's enough notice. I think a Tuesday is fine.
Okay.
Just let people know. Ron, the other question, I think maybe this is for the Board of Selectmen, or are there other issues that would be at the next town meeting that are going to require planning board input and therefore would need us to have meetings on those topics? So it would just be maybe a question for Jeff or for Sue, maybe but
Actually, I plan to have Greg at our next meeting. It would be a good question for Greg. Actually, Sarah, why don't we ask that at our next meeting? I am expecting Greg to attend on blasting and on this retreat.
So,
Talk about
so
it.
the one that I am aware of is the Chabaco Woods, because there's a transfer there. I believe that's the only one that I'm aware of at this time.
right, so we need to make a recommendation on that
Yes.
issue.
Yes,
Do we need to have a hearing?
you're not required to have a hearing, but you are required just to make a recommendation to town meeting.
Which is this now? I thought we recommended this already.
Well, I think that you made a show of support, I would call it. You haven't written a recommendation, written a report, but you did vote as a board to support that at the last meeting.
Isn't it usually just an article and then it's a planning board recommends approval? I mean, we could.
You have to write it's a report. It's a brief report that just outlines what it is and and the board's recommendation. I can share the ones that we did that were done for Alpers or Christian Hill property and other small units, small parcels that were donated in the past couple of years since I've been here.
Is that something that Sue, you could do, a draft?
That-
for us?
I do typically do it, and then the board reviews it and makes edits, and yes. Yes, when the time comes, it mimics the language of the article, so I would wait until the article is written and then respond.
Okay.
I guess I have one more question about the report. I've heard the Manchester Housing Authority Trust mention
Sorry.
this one-to-one need for housing. Could you cite that for me, Sue?
So I can't cite it for you. That was our consultant said that was in the in the criteria of a previous notice of funding availability that was put out by DHCD. The one that I found was actually a 2-to-1, that they required a 2-to-1 match. So I'm not sure where that citing is, but I think with her conversations with DHCD, that's what it says. So the reason that they have that is because that they know from past experience and present experience that it's just not financially feasible unless you have that much of a match. Have that, if you need to create a fair amount of housing to pay for the renovations and expansion of housing. So that's what it's based on. Just
So
the
I mean,
financial-
this is
creating
going out there
financial
like it's
feasibility.
something that's required, but it's not actually required, right?
Well, they don't have a notice of funding availability out there right now. So the hope is that they will have another one. We know that the criteria in the past has been for that match. So we're building that into our pro forma to make it work.
But I guess there is no 1-to-1 requirement, right? So if this match doesn't come through, then what?
The pro forma that was created indicates that it would work with the density, basically the 1-to-1 that they're suggesting or proposing. So we know that it can work with those numbers. If you don't have a 1-for-1, then it's not likely to work. So even if it's not a requirement of DHCD, the fiscal analysis says you need that amount of density for redevelopment of these sites to work.
So I guess that's my concern in the language. Then I think the language that people are saying probably needs to be a bit more clear. Because I keep hearing that it's a requirement and I'm not sure. I guess I would like to know where this requirement, it's a financial requirement, like it's a state requirement. I guess that needs to be clear to me.
I would say that it's a financial requirement. So I don't know where the language that needs to be clarified is, but I think in our community conversations, it should be clear that the fiscal analysis that we did would require that amount of development to support redevelopment and expansion of these sites. So,
Yeah,
Who's
so
going to be the underlying owner of these properties? If this,
yeah, it's a good question. Thanks. It's assumed that it would be possibly a new entity, a development, something that's developed out of this, something that's created out of this development team. The Affordable Housing Trust cannot, not the Affordable Housing Trust, I'm sorry. The Manchester Housing Authority will always be responsible for assuring the affordability of those units. They can't give that responsibility to anyone else, but they can do a 99-year lease. So it's assumed that a development entity would want to own and operate some amount of these units, but we really won't know until we have a development team that's willing to take it on, and they will do their own fiscal assessment and come up with a plan that makes it work. It wouldn't be the town.
well,
But
I
it's
think the
likely
town
it
is
could
taking
either be
on
a
these
hybrid.
numbers. Right?
I don't understand what you mean, taking on the numbers. You mean considering the numbers?
Correct.
Or taking on some responsibility for supporting?
Correct. All of it.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it will take, it's likely to take support of the town in the DPW site or other to make it work.
So I guess just I know we need affordable housing. This is a great idea. I think the numbers are a lot to me. I think the requirement of a 1-to-1, I understand the financial portion of it. I just think maybe we need to get more creative with money, maybe more CPC money. I don't know what it is, but the numbers of housing right here in these areas seem like a lot to me. And I feel like the state says, and it's like a whole trickle down effect with everything really that the state's involved with. They don't have enough money, but now for me, you're saying that the state's requiring us to do 1-to-1, but they're the ones that don't have the money to maintain these to begin with. So to me, telling the town that we have to do 1-to-1, 2-to-1, when basically they weren't financially responsible, I feel like we need to almost take this on ourselves and take it away from them. And I didn't know if that's the end game, because I don't think they've proven themselves to be financially responsible. And it's my concern with the dispatch. So what's going to happen in 10 years? So I do have a lot of concerns with partnering with the state per se.
So I think everyone's end game is to create a sustainable operational and management framework for this, and have a sustainable funding so that they can be kept up. The state's hasn't been great at that over the years, and there's certainly nonprofits and others that do it extremely well. So we really won't know those answers until we put out an RFP and get a development team to respond. And then I think that's the opportunity to really be a great partner with that development team, and put those concerns out there and really work with them the best we can to make it work. So
It looks like there's a lot of land, but a lot, not like a lot, like a piece of land behind, why am I blanking? The family homes. I think it's actually owned by the Brown.
Loading Place Road.
Correct, yes. Have we approached them to purchase that to build more over there potentially?
The land behind Loading Place Road mostly is conserved. There was one parcel that actually the owner tried to give to the town, but it had a little bit of cloud on the title, so the town didn't take it.
Excuse me, Ron, may I jump in
Yes.
a moment, please? This
Yes.
is Becky.
Go ahead, Becky.
Becky Jakes, Board of Selectmen. It seems like you all, it just, and I apologize, but it seems that things are going down a bit of a rabbit hole that are not necessarily the purview of the planning board. And in terms of the land, that's not a choice that the town can just make on its own, or that the planning board gets to make. The state oversees that. And while it is Manchester land, we do not have the authority to swap it, sell it, anything like that of our own volition. So I think that I'm just saying that there's a lot being discussed right now that while it is of interest to the planning board, it does not directly come under the purview of the planning board. Thank you.
I absolutely knew that. There's a piece of lawn that's owned by the Brown property, and it has nothing to do with this. It was a simple question, and this is a conversation that we're having. So thanks for jumping in.
All right, I think we'll just move on. So thank you. Any more questions on the report? I will move on to the next item, which is the, thank you, Sue, the subcommittee and liaison updates. The CPC met last week and we went over our existing projects. We welcomed a new member, and we'll be meeting again next month to start accepting applications for CPC projects. So if anyone has anything or wants to put together something, application period is open for CPC projects. Any other liaison or reports? So next meeting, there are some liaison positions that are now unattached to anyone. They were the positions that Gary Russell held and Lauren Coons held. I sent out a document to everyone on the open positions. And so I'd like to next meeting close that loop. And also, if anyone wants to move on or switch to a different liaison, I'll be welcome any of that information also. in particular, Sarah and Laura, who's not here, if they want to take on what's there and just make an even swap, that'd be great. But if there's some other ones you or Laura would be interested in, feel free to bring it up next meeting.
Ron, would it make sense to just create a document on the shared drive where people could indicate if they wanted to switch, or Laura and I can fill in our names, and then it would maybe expedite the discussion. I'm happy to make that document if that's
Okay, I have it on Excel. I can send you the raw Excel file, the native file, and you can just post it.
great. I think, or
That
just
helps.
that with a notes column, and then we can sign up for,
Okay,
next time.
great. I'll send that to you first thing in the morning.
Okay,
or tonight.
great. And then people can sign up, and maybe we can just vote it as a block.
Okay, that'd be great, providing there are no conflicts. Thank you, Sarah. Great idea. So the planning board retreat, I sent out a doodle poll for everyone that to sign up on free dates. I'm still waiting for Chris Olney, Christina, yourself, and Gary Gilbert to indicate which dates are open. So if you guys can do that. I also posted a bio of Sylvia Wiesendorp. I hope I said that right. I sent her bio. The reason that's in our packet is, and I'll have Greg explain this next meeting, that the town, Sylvia is going to champion the board, going to ask individual board members their issues with the board, where the board should go, and kind of ask the board members privately. And then Sylvia is going to join us at the retreat and give us her input and results of how we can act better as a board. So that's why her bio is on the, to answer your question, Christina, on the packet. And I'm going to have Greg explain that a little more at our next meeting.
Ron, this is Mary.
Go ahead, Mary. And I see Sylvia, you're on, so I'll have you next right after Mary.
I just have a couple questions, and I guess you said Greg was going to say something next meeting, but since this is quite unconventional and the planning board has not been privy to discussions that have not happened at the planning board, I'm wondering who's kind of orchestrating this, like who decided to hire a person, who decided the format, and who is planning this?
Ron, can I speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Sylvia.
Back in January, February, Susan Backman and I got together and we said, the kind of work that Susan and I do in our regular work is to help teams to really become quite joyful to work on, and also to be quite efficient in the way they do their work. I do this internationally. Susan, I think, does it more on the US side. And because of COVID, my international travel is all dried up. And so Susan and I talked with Greg and Eli and said, we are volunteering our services to work with any town committee that would like to improve their processes and how they work together. And so it wasn't specifically for the planning board, it was really for any town committee. And the goal of this initiative was really to support members of any town committee to improve their functioning and become more productive, and allow its members to contribute in more joyful and creative ways to the work that they need to be doing. And a longer term outcome of this would be that any committee can attract the energetic and committed talents of the town, so that working in a town committee actually can be something that people would like to do. So that's the larger background of that. And this is way back in February, and there hasn't really been much communication since then. Just a few back and forth with Eli and Brett, and a brief conversation with Ron some time ago. I hope that answers your question, Mary.
Yes, thank you.
So we'll have, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it tonight. We're short members, and I'll have Greg come in and explain it in more detail at our next meeting. Hopefully it won't go on for too long, but so that's the story on the retreat.
Ron, just one more question. We didn't set a date for that, did we?
Not yet. I'm waiting for input from, it looked like a date, and I haven't looked at the poll, but it looked like September 22nd or something around that time was the one that everyone so far was good with. So sort of looking towards that date. It was a Thursday, I believe, but I haven't looked at the poll in 2 weeks. So but we haven't set a date. To answer your question, no, we haven't. But if you guys go on the doodle poll, you'll see the dates that people are leaning towards.
Oh, it's a doodle poll.
So I sent you all a link to that. So, okay.
And my apologies. I did this weeks ago. It just didn't save. I'm doing it again now.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the regular meeting minutes for July 26th. Helene, they posted those. Any comments on the minutes, or I'll take a motion to approve?
I did have one comment from Mary, who, with her excellent eyes, corrected the spelling of meeting on page 2, for which I am grateful. Otherwise, it's all set.
Move to approve as amended.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Roll call. Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. Okay, Helene, feel free to post. Other matters not anticipated by the chair. I will say I had written something about Helene, which I am not going to read, but because Helene is going to stay on, this was supposed to be our last meeting, but I believe her and Greg will be meeting early next month to talk about Helene staying on through the transition of finding a new administrative help for the planning board. So I'm grateful for that, and I hope that works out.
Thank you, Helene.
And,
Not for the meetings. Wait. We have to be really careful here, right? This is only for projects.
Oh.
Not for minutes, not for meetings, only for the projects, okay? Just, we have to do that nice and clear. No more meetings. I mean, I'll go to the meetings, but not be taking the minutes. I'm sorry. I have a
Understood.
healing broken arm and a healing broken hip.
It's understood, but you know.
As long as you don't expect
appreciate
too much. Just,
Well,
I'm happy to do projects, but I can't use my hand and my arm anymore.
that's fine, understood. But I'm happy that you're staying on, so. Okay, anybody have anything else? Oh, so I've listed the upcoming meetings, September 13th. I'm going to keep the time at 6:30. Since I was going to talk about changing times. If anyone wanted to change our times earlier or later, I'll
We
do
try
that
and
when the
make
new.
one earlier to not conflict with that other forum.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I just want to make sure, Christine, that everyone else is okay with that. So let's bring that up next time for that, to avoid.
I don't think we can. Isn't that the next meeting?
Oh, okay, that's right. I'd hate to do that without, 3 members here. I know
No, it's
Laura
the meeting
works.
in October. It's the October meeting. October 12th.
No, she's talking about the conflict with the dispatch. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
So,
I'm just trying to pull up to confirm what time the dispatch meeting is at.
okay.
One solution might be to start at a regular time and have the administrative material first. For if people wanted to attend the dispatch meeting or I guess we need to make sure everybody could, that we'd have a quorum, but
I need to have a quorum, yeah.
yeah, I will be attending the planning board meeting, so.
Okay. Becky, do you know the dispatch time?
I believe it's 6:30, Ron.
Okay. So, Christina, I don't know if there's any way we can do that. So,
All right.
it's
I
a
mean, at the
big-
last
it's-
Board of Selectmen meeting, they said they were gonna have them once a month on Thursday, so I'm not sure why this is again on a Monday, conflicting with ours. It's unfortunate.
Becky, you have any insight into that? Is that true?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Ron? I'm going in and out.
Yeah, Christina thought that those meetings were going to be on Thursdays, and she was wondering why this one's on a Monday.
I mean,
Um,
Greg
I'd
Glasgow
have,
said public hearings were gonna be on Thursdays.
I would have to review notes on that. I know there are a lot of meetings coming up and that we're having extra meetings on Thursdays to get everything taken care of. I have to double check on that, but I'd be happy to get back to you all.
Okay, that'd be great.
But Ron, so just to be clear, as of now, we're still on for September 13th at 6:30.
Yes, and it's actually, it's imperative that we keep that. There's going to be a lot on our plate that day. And there's a lot with the full board now meeting. Got a lot of things to kind of sort out. So
We have Friday morning, this Friday at 8 a.m., right?
correct.
Does that need to be posted or not?
Helene will take care of that. Correct, Helene?
My understanding is that site walks no longer need to be posted, but I will check with Diane, the town clerk.
Okay.
Is anyone opposed to starting at 5:30 on the 13th?
I'm not, but I don't know. I think Laura works.
Yeah. 5:30 is too early. I think by the time you get out of work, if you have a late meeting or commuting or.
Helene, Diane is on vacation, so you won't get a response from her.
Okay. Thank you, by the way. And don't forget that the October 11 meeting is being moved to October 12, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make a note of that. Helene, when you send us the email on the sidewalk, also put that sentence on. That'll be the 12th to the board. So they put them both on the same email.
I shall.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second,
Roll call, Ms. Creighton,
yes.
Ms. Felicio,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Okay, see you in 2 weeks. Oh, no, see you Friday.
Friday.
Yep.
Bye.
Bright and early.
Okay. Well, you don't need masks. I
No.
don't think. I don't think you need
Outside.
masks.
Okay,
No, not outside.
Okay,
Right, bye.
thank you. Bye.
okay. Have a good night.
Good night.